All right, welcome back. This is part 13 of Let's Build for Ruby and Rails developers. Again, this series is based on the concept of building an app from kind of start to finish around the community of Ruby and Rails devs. So what I'm going to be doing is making a job board as part of the focus, a community side of it, and then also an index of developers that can list their profile and kind of be seen in the space if they want to be hired in such a category or just network with other similar developers. So where we're at this point is basically creating a new job from the contractor side of the Vue, like an employer or someone who's trying to hire a Rails dev or Ruby dev would come to the site and kind of be presented with this link, or this page, I should say. And it's a wizards. So there's 2 or 3 steps. The third being where you purchase, the second where you preview the listing, and the first being where you enter your actual details. Right now, this is a Vue app, so Vue.js is under the hood, kind of operating the UI of this. Right, we don't have much in terms of like managed state besides the step indications. So we just have step 1, 2, and 3. But you can go back and forth at will at this point, as well as some fanciness around like uploading a logo or something. In the last video, I think we did something similar where you upload a logo. It kind of looks like this when it renders out, and you can always remove it. I chose not to do drag and drop here because I think that's overkill, and we only really want you to upload one file anyway. So much more work to be done here in terms of like validation, making these buttons. I only want to have like basic rich text editing here, no attachments or anything. That wouldn't make much sense. So I probably will at some point scale this stuff back or just simplify it. I don't know that there's a real easy way to do that with this without just CSS either. So that's kind of an annoying aside. But what I want to focus on in this video is some of the underlying state management. With Vue apps, typically you're just given the instance of a Vue app, and you can either access data at, feed it data from like some sort of JSON source, which is what we will end up doing. But you need some sort of initial state, which I think is a good thing. It's like a store pattern. But essentially all that means is an object with pre-filled data to start with. And then once we can do like a GET request from the internal app to our database via Rails will help with that, active record specifically, will bring back the data we need to kind of either set up some sort of some of these fields, and for instance, like these actual values, if we want to do it that way, or just these can be hard coded, which I'll probably go with. But where that really will be a big influence is first for the purchasing step, where we need to set up some sort of payment intent for Stripe. The new API there, you need to have first an intent to pay for something, and then that returns a response that will have a key associated with it that will allow you to actually make the payment. Stripe has gotten a little more complicated over the years, so this is one thing that's going to be kind of a weird step to deal with, but one we can do. So it might be a little hacky in my way of doing it, but it might work, I think, for what we need. So enough talking. I want to get into the actual Vue app at this point and just build that store pattern I've been talking about. So we've got our step pagination from the last video and our main actual form. Here it is. Basically, we've got our three store components, our main components, which are the steps of the job post. And then at the very beginning, we have this store index file, which is kind of just where I kept things initially. And I like it for this instance, but I think I want to adopt something a little more verbose that's actually part of Vue. And what that is a Vue.observable pattern. This is only something I've actually run into recently, but it's an interesting one that is actually, it cleans things up dramatically instead of doing something like this per se. It's very similar to this. But where we want to go with this is find our actual initial instance of Vue. And I believe that's on our, where would that be? components. Okay, yeah, we've got our store pattern here in our main component. And while this won't be the most reusable thing, we can make it work. I think I might be able to do that from our store file, since we're importing our data from store here, so we can mount that there. If we go here, I'm going to treat this as a global store. So what that looks like in this case, I'm going to say const. And we'll probably need to import Vue into this file, so I'll do that in a second. So import that's the main import there. And you need to spell it right. So the reason we need to import it is because we're going to use it to create an observable pattern. So here, instead of just equals an object, we're going to say Vue.observable. And it's going to be like a function with an object contained. And it's essentially the same pattern as we have here, but we can export it just like that as well. And I have store as this folder. I don't know if I should keep it as store. But inside the store, typically you can do something like with an action. So a lot of this jargon that I'm talking about comes with a library called Vuex. And I don't want to go all in on that library, to be honest. There's a lot of patterns to adopt, and it's just overkill for, I think, what we need. So what I'm doing is building a little bitty primitive version of it that will kind of just take shape of the stuff we need from that library. So with Vuex, there's a store pattern, there's an action pattern, and I think there's a mutation pattern. And you need to follow these certain steps to do these things just to kind of update state in your app. And it's just a good practice to follow for the sake of clarity and things being transparent per developer or whoever's working on it. But it comes with, learning conventions and all those things like Rails. So instead of doing all that, I'll make it kind of easier on ourselves and just say actions will have their own thing. And basically at this step of the game, we could just say Vue.prototype. We can get the instance of Vue and create that store model using our store variable above, like so. And then we'll do the same for actions. So now at any time in our actual components, we can actually grab a store model, or a store instance, I should say, to grab data back from our Vue instance instead of going through this whole, the pattern that you might be used to, like root, blah, 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 .data, blah, 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 in your app. It gets messy, and you're constantly kind of going through this chain of events, especially with nested components. It gets wild there. So this allows you to kind of globally access this thing in the instance of your components. So all that to say, this is how I want to do it, to kind of just map that store model back through to our main Vue app. So on our actual app, if we go back to the form, we're still on our main component. When we mounted it prior, it was on a stimulus controller. So here we're still importing the store and assigning it here to our main Vue instance anyway. So if all goes right, this should be basically ready to roll. We won't need to do anything like this in this case. So our step can now return this.store.step. I believe I might have it in it's in the form. So we'll say store.form.step. And this.store.form.job. So that's all basically baked into this object here that's going to have the stuff we need there. So nice. So we've got job to pass through now. That's got some actual data on it. Let's just kind of validate something like that's working. I might run dev server. Again, I have an alias set up for that, so Webpack dev server on Rails is a little bit different to write there. I kind of just want to see what Vue's doing under the hood. So we've got our form object, that's all piped through now, so that's good. And we're on step 1, and I believe I might have that mistyped step. So instead of even returning these things, here's what we can do, which makes this maybe more clear of why I'm doing it. We just need to say store.form.step right there instead of just doing all that main data patterns. So store.form step. And we don't even need to pass the step through this instance. We can grab it from that component. And the same for the job, really. So I'll just get rid of these. Okay, so we're going to get errors. Why is that? Can't access form. This .store is undefined. Fixes, where are we at on data? This .store is undefined. Where is this .store? Okay, that should be working, so I'm not sure why that's messed up there. I might rerun this to compile down. Let's see. Store is not defined an instance for referencing rendered reactive. Why would that be the case? Okay, so if we have a required prop, we don't need these props anymore because we can access that globally. So I'm going to remove those. Cool. I'll go back to the form, remove the job. let's just run through our components fast to make sure we don't have any necessary props. So what's this? Job. This we won't need to either. Pretty much removing all the props from this because we're going to have that global store that I just set up in place, and it's just going to take care of things for us. The same for this. Like, I don't need to set this here. I will copy it and set that in our store. So we'll go back to our index action here. Maybe I'll just say like form, what was that component? Estimated hours, hourly. I'll just borrow this and throw that there. I like to just keep one source of truth. So instead of that being returned in this main data, we could say item in store. I think it's in form. Yeah. Like so. And compensation type, we just have components. Here's another one, compensation ranges. We'll pull back from the store. It's kind of like a primitive, a shitty database, basically, but it's just an object. So we'll pull that in again from store form. Get rid of this data. I'm going to get rid of that. I don't think we need it. Or that. Link. Clean up. All right, experience levels. We'll do that again in our store. So same pattern, store dot form dot experience levels, and our description is going to have a job prop. We don't need to pass that through. Instead, we could just say store dot form dot job description. I'll go back through pretty much all these in a second and make sure that's looking good. This one looks pretty good to go. Compensation type. Right on. We'll need to do some stuff for select fields to be a little more dynamic with Vue. It's kind of tricky to do, but we'll get to that. I just want to make sure we can pipe all of our data through accordingly. So we've got props here we don't need. And I'm just doing full time for now, even though it's not necessary. This.emit, cool. Same button remove. Don't need this. We need that. Okay. I also noticed I'm on my master branch at the moment, so I'm going to check out part 13, I think. Clean up some of this stuff. Probably have errors, but it's okay. I believe it's part 13. Derp, you gotta actually pass a name. Part 13. Cool. So it's got all that modified, even though I'm on it. I'll just do a git add. We can say git status. So we've added all of those components because we made changes. For now, I'll just say git add. Oh, I already did that. Git commit. We'll say cleanup and add new observable Vue pattern. So what basically did to make that work, this is gonna bark, but we'll go back and I'll show you. The main change came from our Vue store, as I called it. We've added this new store pattern. We've piped into Vue this new method on it that's observable. And within that, you can pass in an object that basically is a primitive store pattern. So this has all your base data that you're going to start with and update as you manipulate data with the form. So this is kind of the starting point for me, where if I want to define a price, I can set it here and it just kind of goes through the whole app and it's just an understood price or something. The same is true for some of these other ranges that we'll pipe through. But the best part of all of this is when we go back through to our job form JS. This is where we kind of mount in the stuff that ultimately gets piped down to our component here. You notice we get our jobs controller, we pipe in the component, the form, and then pass that through as an instance. And then we can actually input that store pattern into the data of the instance. So it's a little jargled on how it's working, but it's working. And the main thing is we want to make sure there's a prototype pattern for this added as well. So when we add that store, we can set those as global instances to this $sign store and $actions. And actions are going to be things that manipulate the store. So you can think of them as functions that either returns an actual value or true or false or something like that. Similar to what you put in your data return in an actual Vue component. But instead of doing it per component, we just have it all in one place, which is the perk. So it's kind of like having a database without the database, even though we are going to get it into a database at some point. So I've got a few errors here. I just want to make sure I'm grabbing everything here. Missing required step. So let's go to step pagination. Looks like we're expected to have props here. We don't need step. Do we? I'm just gonna remove this and we'll end up using the store here. So instead of doing the step right in place, we'll just say store.form.step. And we'll do the same in the other two. That gets us out of needing to pass a prop down to that. So on our main job form, we kind of were, but I guess not necessarily. Now we still got our shorter step here, but at the bottom here I've passed it in that. We could do the same though. I kind of like to not use these datas if I don't have to. So something like that. And then if you were to use the store pattern in a method, you need to do this dot and then the $sign store. The same with actions. That's one thing that might be a gotcha. So let's see if that fixes anything. Doesn't appear so. Let's go down the line here. Method of job, define an instance reference during render. So I need to pass in the store to the components that are referencing job. So all of our fields that have like a job model, like right here, V model, we'll just need to say store.form.job instead. So that points to, if you're not following along, it points to our store, which is here. And within our form object, we've got a job object. So we get the data back from that. And then we're specifically getting company description. So this one right here, which is going to be null. But if I maybe just by example do some text, we can see at some point that will have some data once we get the rest rendered. So let's go and make that happen on all of our components. I'll just go through each one because I think we're going to be using each. And in fact, I might start doing the V model bit and pointing that through. So V model here will be store.form.job. form dot email. I don't know if I made it that simple. Company, should probably put that somewhere, huh? Company email. Let's just do email. There's only one field. I'll just do null for now. And we'll just say that. So this is working. Name, same thing. So we could say v.model and store.form.company name. I don't know if I did camel case or... Yeah, this is going to be Ruby in the end, so I kept the syntax that way. Many people would probably write this way. I don't want to, so I'll leave that alone. Okay, website. Let's do this one now. So vModel. You could do like .trim and stuff here to make Vue do some work for you, which I might go back and do. For now, I'm going to keep it simple though. So we'll just say store.form.company website. I believe that's what I called it. Man, I should just keep this file like open. There we go. Okay. Got it. Company name, email. I'm going to close that for now. And we'll go down the line. Compensation range, I believe we've got that here. Select fields are a little tricky, so we don't have a vModel yet. But we do have a value, so I'll figure that out in a second. I might use some local storage to keep these. If you navigate away, I want you to be able to come back and still have your settings saved. So there's a little trickiness with that. And I don't really want to save that data to the database until it's really a job posting. So we'll have to use maybe local storage to get that going. So we'll come back. Instead of like setting a vModel on the select, instead we'll kind of handle it with an event and then update the form with a special call to local storage and stuff. So I'll do that in a sec. It'll probably be an action that we'll use for that. That's just kind of a globalized one to save us some of our hair falling out. Estimated hours. We'll come back for that one. File select. Yeah, we'll have to do this one as well. Trying to think how this would work, but okay, a description. We've got our model there for that, so that's good. Okay, so these will be kind of tricky. Remote or not, we'll say they'll have the same model, which they do, but we need to do the store pattern. So store form job remote. And then, yeah, that should be good actually. And then title, we'll do this one, vModel, probably the most obvious. This will be job. Did I do that right here? Form, job, remote. Yeah. Cool. And then I didn't add the upsell types yet, but that will be something I'm going to add as like an additive. Hey, upgrade your job for this. So property method jobs, not define an instance. Where are we at? Job info. Ah, yeah, okay. So we don't need to do any of this shit. Let's just find them all and delete them. And I think that would take care of it. And it's the same thing on job type. Looks like I got that one. Job type, there it is. Okay, well, let's get, there's not even anything for that. So let's say store form dot job compensation type should probably be what it is. Or what? Wait, what? What are our fields here? Job. Yeah, contract full time. So this is the one that needs to be piped through. So let's do, yeah, compensation type will be the deciding factor here. So we'll say compensation type. Is that. And kind of just do an if. And we could technically just do else here, but I'm going to keep it like that just in case we add more later. It's kind of one of those things. That might bark at us because it's not like legit, but notice our form is displayed, and I think that's good to go. So one thing I want to verify, like I remember adding some data to the company description. There's nothing piped through at the moment, so why would that be the case? Like there should be some data here. I don't see any, so I'm going to debug that one real quick and just make sure, like if I put title, terribly spelled, see that's piped through, so that's coming through, that's good. But our description is not. So company description, V model store job, view tricks. Maybe it's part of the library that's being weird. Let's type in this and see if our store is updating. So here's all of our stuff now. We've got our company description. Oh, okay. So it's assuming it's that. So why is it doing that? Maybe I should make these this way. I hate that so much, but I guess it's such a pattern. All right. So now I need to update all those everywhere. Make sure I got them all. Yep. Okay, so that's going to give me errors, I believe. Or not. So that's piped through now. If you recall, if I go to the store, index store, if I type like this is my company description, go back to that, you'll see it should be in the field, so that's good. All right, cool. So what I'm going to do really is just set this to null. I just wanted to validate that the model pattern was working. Okay. Now we still have some stuff like the years of experience. This won't, if I go back, if I set that and go to continue and then go back, it's going to be back to 1. I want to deal with that. And that's primarily just going to be local storage. And it's kind of, honestly, JavaScript like this is hacky, but I think it's a good pattern to add because I just don't want you to have to go through this, be on the purchase page and then remember you forgot something, and then go have to fill out the whole form again. You would just throw stuff. So let's figure out our method to this madness of doing the local storage pattern. I'm going to add a few methods that kind of do these for us. So hopefully you can follow along. It's going to primarily happen on the, let's see, job info step. So down here in our methods, we've got this next to admit, but we'll come back to that. More so going to just add this one that's going to update the general form when we make changes. So we'll just say the actual input and value. And I might actually do this in our actions. So yeah, I'm going to put it in our actions. So in our index file, we've got this long list, but we've got our actions down here. I'm going to do update form and pass in our input and then the value. And this is essentially going to be used to update the store and also local storage at the same time. So it's kind of tricky, but also useful. So we'll get through it, I think. So we'll say, let's see, this store, we can use store just like so, since it's in this file. So we'll use that .form.job, and then we're going to get the actual input that comes through. Because it's going to be passed as its own property, so it'll be called something like this. So price, for instance, or link to apply. And then we can set it to the value. And then we're going to set an instance of a stored form will equal to this dot opens, or not even this, let's just see. Actually, yeah, this dot open storage. So we'll make that method. So open storage. We'll do a bit of magic with JSON. We'll say return JSON dot parse local storage, which is part of the window object. If you just call that in your console, you'll see that's just built into the browser. But we can call an actual line item. It's like a key and value pair in storage to grab the data from it. And with local storage, you can only store, I think, up to a certain amount. You can't use it as like a full-on database, but a lot of people can get away with a lot, depending on what you need. So we're using, this is kind of a getter method. We're going to do a save or a set method. So in this case, I'm going to say save storage, and we'll come back and put this to practice in a second. So I'm going to pass the form through eventually. So local storage dot set item will be the form, and then we'll just kind of parse that JSON back, or parse it as a string, I should say, because local storage doesn't allow you to commit too much jarbled data. Form, trying to type and talk, it's hard. Okay, and then I think we need one more handle file change. This will be like a global method that we'll use an invent on. And when it fires, it'll fall back to an actual input method. That's actually for the files. We don't need that right here. Okay, and then we need a created method on our instance. So on our job info, we're going to do on created. We'll check for that stored form. So that's how we can access the actions variable here, and then we'll pull in this open storage. Basically just returns the get request for that form element in our storage. Basically, if that exists, then we could pull back that data and just fill the form. And it's no real awesome way to do this, but you kind of just need to go line by line and add your parameters. So we'll say like that, basically. So we'll go down the line and kind of just copy this stuff right here. I don't think step will be one that's going to be that I need to save, but the job will be. So basically delete those for each of these. Price won't be one, but I'll remove that. So this will be am I saving as, yeah, it's per thing, so it'll just be company name. All right, I'll try to speed this up a little. So equals I will need that price. Base price is just a defined one, so we don't need to worry about that. Price and so you could probably set this in a way cooler way, but I didn't, and I don't care at the moment. Just being scrappy. So that's probably still gonna not work because it's just doing the things. So we need to finish out this stored form pattern. So what we're going to do is we're going to have this open storage fire, and we'll say if it's not stored, we'll say stored form equals an empty object. And then stored form input equals value. This is each time we update the form. So we're going to fire this when a field changes. And then we'll store the whole form in that way. So on the surface, this looks complicated, but it's just kind of another way to go about saving some state for each field. So as we go through each field, instead of like mapping everything to a model and just going about our business, we can do that plus this update to store it as local storage when they do change it. So in this case, we don't really need a model pattern per se, but we do need to fire that handle update function or update form function when we do things. So we'll set the value in this case as a binded value, and we can do that from the store again. So store.form.job.apply link. But we also need a change event. I'm going to just save this so this formats. And this is where we'll hook into the action. So we could say actions and then call that function now. So update form. But we need to pass in a couple things. So in this case, it will be our event target.value will be on the right, but we can say apply link or link to apply here for the name of the field, which will map down to this right here in our object. So we need that to be the same look and feel. So in this case, I have it wrong. Right here is where that would happen. So I'm hoping this could work in this case. So if I go back to a link to apply, it's giving me weird syntax highlighting here. Why? I think that's why. No, that's right. But I need single quotes here, that's why. Okay, if I go back to the field and let's see if this does anything. Looks like we have some issues. Oh, I need to find that local store. A typo. Okay, let's go back to this. Looks like no errors besides that. We'll figure that out. But notice the link. I have some stuff in my storage already, it looks like, so that's pretty cool. But if I go into my local storage, I've got some old stuff here, but if we go into this tab, localhost 3000, I already have some stuff from, I think, another app I was working on. Yeah, this isn't even this app, but if we got rid of this, that should go away like it did. Cool. But if I say apply link, there we go. So it saved that bit of the form in local storage. So now if I go continue, go all the way to end if we want, and then back, it's still in the field, which is the entire goal. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. And it looks complicated, and it is, honestly, but it's still useful in this case. So I'm going to kind of go through the rest of the fields now and update that to match so we can get that saved storage as well. And that's going to really make a difference on the select fields and stuff too. So I will do that now. Sorry if this is boring, but this is kind of just the name of the game at this point, just to get this stuff underway. One thing we could do is prevent some attachments from this as well. People might drag into these. We could just say file accept. This is part of the library. I remember using this in the past, but we could say just handle file accept event. Throw a method down here. And we could just do an alert instead, just so if you do try to throw an image into the actual text area, it's going to say, hey, you probably don't want to do that. Essentially prevent default and then alert. Something like that. Maybe we could try it. That was for the description, company description. So let's drag this here, see if it does anything. It did, so that's not right. Huh. What about this one? Did I do the wrong one? Interesting. Handle file accept event. That's weird. Do. So these already have local storage built into them too. I'm going to leave this alone for now. I'm not sure why that's not working. I might need to look into the library a little bit more to figure out why. But I think you could do something like that to kind of prevent it. So I'll go down the line. Our email here, we've got our model now, but we probably want to have the same concept. So instead of model, I'll put value, bind that to this, and then on input or change, I'll probably just do like input on text fields. We could say handle. Honestly, we'll just do actions update form. And then we'll pass through what this would be. In this case, it would be email. And then we'll say event.target.value. Cool. Same with the name. And the website. Right on. Okay, so compensation range. This one's a little trickier because we've got some select fields. So what we need to do instead of mapping through these, here's where it gets kind of stupid. We kind of need to do this in our, not a loop in this case. Maybe we don't though. No, we need to do it a little different. So we're gonna have to actually pull the data, I think, right back into this component. But what we can do is say, like, set a value of those fields, whatever they were. Let's go back to that file. This is gonna be annoying, but so we've got all of our options here. I'm gonna just paste those in and we'll say, kind of start at the top and say option value equals that. And then we'll say selected will be okay, so that took entirely too long, but I've got the basically scale from 50,000 to 250,000 in USD in terms of salary or compensation range. And each is mapped to both a value and then the select name here. So this should actually be selected. So I'm going to Command D through these, go to the end and put ED. And that'll allow us to say, okay, this one should be selected when the actual field is piped through from the data store. So the way that's going to work, we're going to do that change event, kind of the similar compensation range here where it updates the form. So we'll just say actions.update form, and then again pass through what this will be is compensation range, and then event.target.value, I believe. So each time you update a select field, it should set that field as one of these options, and then it'll select, if you go back or change your page or something, it'll come back and the selected state will map to the one that's been actually piped to your local storage. So a lot of words there. Essentially it says, hey, when you change this, I'm going to go ahead and, display it and keep the price intact, which is, where is this thing anyway? Is it not displaying right now? Let's double check our form. I think it's because compensation type is contract full-time. I need to set that one up still. So let's do that next. Same pattern here. So we'll do the binded value. Value be contract. And then we could say selected. This one's dramatically smaller. So we could just say store.form.job.compensation type will be that. This will be equal to contract. It's the same thing with the other one, but full-time. All right, and round that one out. Then we need that change event again. Not store, actions, update form. This one is compensation type, and then again event.target.value. All right, and I think this might make a difference here. So if I do this, that displays accordingly, which is good. That's kind of what we want with that if statement we had on the form. Yeah. One thing I might do though, I kind of want I would assume it would be mostly full-time that displays first. So I might put these in opposite order. And then in the data, should it come back? Yeah, it'll display this automatically. But if we switch to contract, that should go away and do the hours in this case, which is working great. Awesome. Okay, so we're getting there. Let's do the hours next. Same thing with the select fields and mapping. We can't quite do what we want to do with looping through, but we should be able to, get there even though it's kind of manually typed. So each option is going to have its own value. That's going to map to what's on our store, which we can remove this now. Where was I at just now? Compensation range, info, estimated hours. So if we go back to our store, we can grab these and make those options. So each will be its own. We'll do emit here. I think there was 5. Okay, and we could do like something like that. All right, let me just get these. All right, remove that. Oops, not that first one. There we go. And then for each of these, you can have a selected. No, not doing that. What would it be? Store. .form.job. Estimated hours. 3 equal signs will be equal to whatever this is. So 10 through 30. And they need to match. So you might just want to copy these verbatim so you don't get the syntax wrong. Let's just copy this for this one. I forgot. And we got one left right here. Should be that. Okay. Now those will kind of pan out. We could do the same thing with the change event. And this will be so we'll say estimated hours here. I cannot spell event.target.value. What the hell? Oh, is that right? Yeah. So let's save that. Now if we go to contract, these aren't piped through because I don't have actual stuff output here. So let's fix that. I don't know if this breakdown makes sense. I might come back through and change it because I don't know where I got these figures, but we'll go with it for now. Doesn't really make a ton of sense. I'm thinking maybe hours per week might make more sense. But this is kind of looking at it from the whole spectrum. So let's double check our storage is being saved when we do that. So on our local storage, this thing should fire yellow when we get it. There we go. Yeah. Sweet. You see it update down there. And you can see it right here too. Nice. That's all, again, piped through our data store as well. So we've still got it saved here as we're going through. Now, if I refresh the page, we check that out again, the real gold here is that's already set. Like I could go anywhere. I could go somewhere else, another website, come back to this form. It's going to be saved, assuming you don't clear your local storage, which I don't know how many people do that unless you're like super developer. So let's go. I think that might be why that shit's not working. I don't have the I might just turn that off for now. We'll come back. Okay. What else? File select. How is this one gonna work? Let's see. Okay, so when we do the onload, we can set storage here. So we could say this will be outside of that scoped thing, but we can call it logo image. And then JSON.stringify that VM instance, so user image. Then if we remove it, we can say, so assuming your local storage is there, we'll just say remove item. It's amazing to me, like local storage is such a useful thing, and the syntax around it in JavaScript is quite good. But then you have like randomness with the file reader API and whatnot. That just makes zero sense. Like eTarget data transfer files, like I just don't get it. Where it's like too many cooks in the kitchen or something. I don't know. Anyway, that's coming from a Ruby guy. Okay, so if I were to save this, I think now if I save it, we should have a new instance of storage. Logo image is undefined. Why is that? Oh, because I said user image. No wonder it's company image. Let's do that. So right now it's undefined. If I set it once more, is it going to set? There we go. And it parses it at base 64. So if I reset, it's still there. So what we could do is kind of render this accordingly. Right now we have our source company image. Let's see. Okay, that sets it as our I'm trying to think how this could work here. I'm curious if that saves it to the store. The company logo undefined. So if we set that here, would that work? So when we set it, let's say this.store. I don't know if this will work here. Let's do VM. So when we're setting it here, we actually want to set it in the store as well. So we can say vm.store.form.job.company logo e.target.result, I think. And then we'll say here as well, like this dot store dot company image. In fact, do we need, like, company image here refers to the one that's going to be our main one, so we don't need that there. Instead, we could say store dot form dot job dot company image. It'll actually be company logo. So I'll copy that and just basically paste it through the whole spiel here. And then we'll do the same here. So we'll say, we're basically saying this. And I don't like empty strings either, so I'm going to say null. Let's try that. I want to verify this actually mounts. There we go. So base 64 is set. That should save as local storage. If I refresh, it's not displaying. Okay, I think it might be because I'm not setting it on initial render. So on our info, we've got that huge bit here. So why isn't that company logo? That should be working. I don't know that I'm calling the update form bit. Okay, yeah, that's what's going on. So go back to file select. We'll say okay, yeah. So we've got the main store set here. We're setting local storage as well, but we can do the same thing. Instead of doing this, could we just call this our vm.actions update form? And then we can just do this. I'm curious if this will work. So I know it'll set it. Got that there. Our storage is undefined at the moment though, but is it defined here? Yeah, okay. So it's now it's on our object. We don't need this logo image separate anymore. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Let's try that all over. That sets the company logo. If I refresh, yeah, cool. So it stays in that state since we've got it. But if I remove it, it doesn't work. Why is that? Do we get an error? Store is not defined. That's right. This needs the reference. So if I do that, still got an issue. Why would that not be the case? This, that store. Okay, there we go. That worked. So we've got our states. It's not clearing out though. Why is that? If I want to set that and remove it, Maybe we can do it this way. It's still in the company logo, so how do I make that not... How can I update the store right there? Shouldn't it be... I don't need this. The store should be able to just manipulate, right? So company logo with null. Okay, so it's form. I guess you can't do like a nested thing within a form, can you? I don't think this works. Nope. Interesting. I think that's why I did it separate originally. Yeah, let's roll back and see what we can do without. We'll just keep company image separate from the store, but we need a way to pipe it to our store still. I might just not save the storage of this one, to be honest. I'm torn. So we can set it. But the issue is like rendering it out. Do we want to deal with it? I guess I could do it like on created. Actually, so if this, we'll say local storage get item local storage, then we'll say this dot company image equals basically this. So it's got stuff. See our storage set that, okay. Which it's rendering. Well, why is it rendering as that? Oh, it's two strings. If I do JSON.parse, boom. Okay. So if I set it, the real test here is I'm refreshing the page and it's staying, which is good. If I delete this, that should just go away. Cool. So I kept that separate because it's hard to remove one little thing from a giant form object in the state of the game in the whole form. So that's kind of the reason there. All right, sorry for that huge veer off course, but that worked pretty well. We'll come back to this. It's already got local storage set up, but we want to do the job experience bit next just to kind of follow the same footsteps of the previous select fields we've used. So in my case here, I'm going to say option will be value, and then we'll say selected again. And we need like 3 of these, I think. Let's go back to, I don't think I deleted it yet, in our store. Basically these, so 10 or 11. Let's do this real quick so I can just store dot, what's it called? Form dot job dot years of experience. And then triple equal whatever the thing is. So let's do this. Okay, so then we'll do that same thing. So on like Rails apps, they use sessions and cookies mostly. So you wouldn't really have much in terms of local storage compared to like a Vue app like this. So if you ever like hit an error on a form in a Rails app, you'll notice the fields are still full, which is a nice thing. I think that's more of the cookie side of the equation coming into play. Or I guess your typical session at that point, but it pre-propagates the form object, basically whatever it is you're manipulating on the front end. And it's a nice pattern, but it's not as reactive as, say, a Vue app could be, but that's okay, honestly. It's just a form. Okay, so now we need the change event here. Fields. What did I do for the other ones? Yeah, let's just kind of borrow this. And instead of this, we'll just say years of experience. I think I got that right. Let's double check that's what I used for the name. Yep, okay. So there, we should have like 9. That should set storage. 9. Refresh, still set. Good deal. Now remote is not doing much here. We need to figure that out now. And I think that's going to be, I don't know if we need much here of, I think we could just set this as like one or the other first. So remote will be yes, yet it's not set. Why wouldn't it be set? Why is it null? Undefined. That doesn't make much sense. Let's, I think it's because I haven't cleared storage, so we'll need a mechanism to delete your state of the form too, like reset the form. Yeah, there we go. That's why. So like if you're coming back or you didn't want to actually fill out the job form, we can clear it. So now everything's null and kind of set to the defaults, which is cool. And I think that's close, guys. So this has been dragging on, I know, but like this stuff, the title should be pretty quick and easy on input. And I think we could do like change for this, like change don't know if we need model in this case. So would this work? It's not reactive in that case, so that's kind of a bummer. So that is, does it update store? It does. No. Cool. All right. I think that seals the deal for this stuff. We've already got local storage set up, so I think we won't need to do much since those come pre-baked. All the other fields got these updates to them, so I'm going to push these changes up into the part 13 branch, I believe, and you can refer to them there. If you're following along or borrowing from my stuff here, feel free. Yeah, we're getting into the nitty gritty here. This is mostly just getting things set up for success as we go. I kind of want this form to just be very polished and set up for success, because this is the entry to basically making some money with this thing if I'm going to. So we'll see what happens coming up. The next few phases will be probably the preview and purchase phase. We need to talk Stripe and getting payment set up. I'm still debating on recurring fashion or just kind of a one-time fee based on what you want to do. And then when you create a purchase, should you have an account? I'm feeling like you might, so we could maybe create an account automatically if you don't have one. So we'll find or create. Rails has a nice little mechanism for that. That's mostly so you can have some history of your billing. You don't have to like sift through emails to find all your shit if you need to, like some apps do with job boards. They don't even have you create an account, which I know is another pain in the ass, because you do need to go like authenticate and stuff. But honestly, it's not a big deal these days. So we'll see. But now we have local storage set up. Things are, saved state and whatnot. So that's pretty cool. If we were to, let's see, product designer, I don't know, that's what I do. So just kind of see what happens here. Let's say I have 6 years. This is going to be remote contract. One thing that wasn't right there is that nothing's displayed by default, so we need to figure that one out. Let's say I'm making a shit ton. I've got our job. Just kind of want to continue. Sweet. Besides the company name and website and email, what's up with that? So email, did form email. Can't type. That's what's up with that. So website, job. We refresh. Let's see if this saves now. So we'll say webcrunch again. Okay, I'll continue. Oh wait, I need to fix something. Those still aren't working. What the hell? Website is not working. Value store.form.job.company. Oh my god. For one thing, it's that. Company name has since changed to that. So there we go. So refresh, continue, just to show you guys it's working. Sick. All right, that's totally what I wanted to do. It's probably boring ass shit to watch, so thank you for tuning in if you have. And sorry for my vulgarness, but we've been going about almost 2 hours, so I'll maybe chop this up into 2 parts. So if you're seeing this and this isn't part 13, it might be part 14 or 13 and a half or something. I don't know, but we'll see what happens. If I edit a lot of this down, it might not be so bad. So I'll see you in the next part. Thanks. Peace.